Tonight's vPub is all about honesty, mostly mine. Honesty about health. I've got to follow up on the promise I made to you all a month ago about how much I'm consuming. It starts with me, of course. Honesty about how we approach and review whiskies, of course. And while we're doing that, honesty about our own personal bias or favouritism and our pet distilleries. It's been 5 years tonight since the start of the channel as well. So let's raise a glass to that too. I'll see you in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I hope you're all doing very, very well. I was just checking my audio there. I forgot to do it before I went live tonight. It's been a busy evening. It's been a busy few weeks, if I'm honest. Welcome, everybody. It's so good to see you all waiting again. So good to see so many of you waiting on the pub doors opening. I was a wee minute late as well. I had some last minute running around, some daddy taxi duties this evening. I hope you're all doing well. Tonight's vPub is kind of... there's three kind of things I'm going to talk about tonight. And there is that common theme over the whole three of them, that kind of idea about kind of just being honest and upfront. And it's not honesty as opposed to telling fibs and lies, anything like that. It's just kind of having a kind of rational self-awareness about opinions and about favourites and things like that. And also being aware of how much we're drinking. A month ago, I promised you I was going to track my intake of alcohol for a month. It's actually been closer to 5 weeks. And then share it with you after I had recorded the drinks I'd had over that month. So I have to do that tonight as well. But I'm also going to talk about the fact that a lot of us occupy this space. And we try to be as objective as we possibly can be, and we review whiskies. I don't see myself as a traditional reviewer, but the truth is that actually, when it comes down to it, I do end up reviewing whiskies, and that means that I've kind of got to, before I can share anything with you, I've kind of got to look at myself a wee bit and say, have I got any pet distilleries? Of course, I'm going to say no. You know, I'm promiscuous. I'm open-minded. I just want all whiskey to be good. But recently I did a bottle count and I could see that some things have endured over the years. It's quite a shock to me, actually. I thought that there were so many new things had come on in the last 5 years that had diversified significantly. But no, it's clutch, right? We can't give up our favourites sometimes. We always have a wee soft spot for those whiskies that, for whatever reason, for whatever we owe them, they still remain favourites. Anyway, before I get into all of that stuff, and I've got a wee announcement to make tonight as well. I know I've been teasing you about it, but tonight's the night it's going to happen. But before we get into all, I'm going to jump into the lounge and welcome some of you beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies. Let's see, if you're trying to get hold of my attention, as per usual, please just type Aquavitae or @Aquavitae, and it should light up orange in the YouTube chat, and I'm able to see it if you're watching on Facebook. Fantastic. I hope you're comfortable over there, but the chat I'm interacting with is here. I apologise to everybody for the last 2 weeks. I've broken my New Year's resolution, and I've not been keeping up to date with the timestamps, chapter markers and things, and I've not even been keeping up to date with the comments for the last 2 vPubs. But I promised you last week that I will catch up, and I'll keep my promise. But it looks like tomorrow I'll be doing 3 weeks worth of catch up. There's been other things on the go the last couple of weeks. Thomas Elmer is saying, hi Roy, cheers to you and a good coming year. Thanks very much, Thomas. Good to see you. Jed Smith is in as well, saying good evening. Fantastic. Che Francis, Aaron Edgerton, superb Che, superb Aaron. Hellswood, Mike Johnson, Matt Whiskey Games, Matt Bishop, good to see you, Matt. Lee J Brown as well. George, Whiskey Central, Sheila, so good to see you. So good to welcome you in, Sheila. I hope you're doing very, very well. Pete Head, Jimmy Jazz over in the States, next to his pal there, Jimmy Legg over in the East Coast of Canada. Jimmy and Jimmy, welcome to both of you. Max Kreitner is in as well. Max, so good to see you, buddy. Scott, my friend, Kilted Moose from the other side of the city. Hope you're doing well and you're sitting comfy. Scott, good to see you in. Andrew Piers is here. Jamie Brown, David Owens, Scott Rylance, fantastic. Daniel Vermaas, Sugar Kitty, and Drew from Arizona. Fantastic to see you all. Drew, I hope your health, and Daniel, yours too. I hope you're both doing very well from a health point of view. Reb Mordecai, good to see you in, Reb. Can everybody just raise a wee glass and welcome in? Reb welcomed his latest grandson today, and he shared me a wee photograph. I'd like everybody to raise a wee glass to Reb over in Israel and congratulate him on becoming a grandfather once more. Reb, congratulations, my friend. It's the best kind of news, isn't it? Cheers to you. Well done. Hope all the family are all healthy and doing well. Congratulations, Reb. Julie Fitzjohn is here. Great to see you, Julie. Mike Molasses, superb. Chris Pollack, Daniel in Canada, Whiskey Throttle, Gabs Dram, superb. Tom Scaramuzza, Scott Allen. Whiskey 101, Nick, good to see you. Arnie Tiger, Jerry Miller, so many of you. Oh my goodness, there's a fair load in tonight, quite early on. I'll try and keep up with the chat tonight. It's just me, no guests, no, is it a space side? I figured with kind of 3 things to kind of get through. None of them are particularly big or crunchy. We should be fine. But yes, we're going to concentrate on those things tonight. If you're trying to get in touch with me, I'll look out for the orange, of course. So yes, I did a bottle count and a bit of reorganization here. There's a lot of carnage behind the camera that you can't see. It's a bit messy in here because I started to clean and do a wee bit of dusting and things like that. And it meant that, you know, you kind of take stock of some of the whiskies that you have and you find things that you've maybe not touched in a wee while and all of that. And I don't really do kind of counting or organizing. I don't have a spreadsheet to manage the bottles or whatever. I've just never really enjoyed that side of it. But I do like them to be out and I like to be able to see them. And I started to realize that, you know, when certain bottles were looking like they were close to the end, I was like, oh, I need to replace it. Now, I don't think that with every bottle. I only think that with a few styles of whiskey or a few brands or a few particular distilleries, it's still here. It's still something that despite my promiscuity and my exploration of whiskey, I still have this favoritism towards certain brands for whatever reason. And you wonder if that's the case. Is that weaving into my critique of the whiskies? Is it weaving into, am I going to be tenderized a little bit there? Am I going to be tempted to spend a bit more money for those brands? Am I able to kind of step out of that and recognize that I have favorites and weave it into the decision-making process? You'd think you would be able to, but I think it's a wee bit trickier than that. Dornpass Whiskey saying, hi, Roy and everyone at work, so we'll watch the replay. Excited to find out what the big announcement is. I'm really worried it's a bit of a damn squib. It's a big thing for me and the folk that have been helping me to put it together, this thing. But yes, it's. I hope I've not oversold it. I think it should be fun. It should be interesting for anybody who's got an interest in whiskey. Multi-Mission is saying, I thought you were going to complete that I started to realise sentence with, I need a bigger house. No, I'm not. This room is this room. There's no whiskey going to be stored outside of this room, you know, unless, I don't know, it's sealed bottles or something. I don't know. It's everything is going to be here. Everything is intended to be open and I can see it all. And I can manage it that way rather than using a spreadsheet or whatever. So no, I've got more than enough whiskey. I've got all the whiskey I need. Yash is saying, I'm shocked to discover that nearly 20% of my collection is made up of Benromac. I'd be lying if I said I'm not biased. I keep buying their bottles, even though I already have enough. So you've got a favourite distillery in Benromac there, haven't you, Yash? And you've had to do that bottle count that I encouraged I encouraged my patrons to do it. I think I suggested in social media and maybe the description below this video that if you don't think you have a bias or a favourite, just do a wee bottle count. And if you see a significant ratio or proportion of your collection, is it maybe a particular style, maybe a particular brand, but often a particular distillery? Gary Carew is saying, my pet distillery has got to be Bunnahabhain. That's true for many people. There's a lot of people that love Bunnahabhain. A beautiful place out in the country, and makes some decent whiskey too, which is a bonus. I think nobody can visit Bunnahabhain and have a bad time or not come away thinking that it's just an amazing spot. It's idyllic. It's so isolated and remote and special, and the views are stunning. The place doesn't matter what the weather's doing. It's either terrific or dramatic. We're expecting some dramatic weather here in the next day or so. It's Glasgow Whisky Festival this weekend as well, talking about the weather. I hope everybody manages to arrive here okay. I hope everybody stays in good health. I hope that everybody's taking care of their health and things before they turn up there. There's some guidance coming out from the festival organisers on what you should do. You should have a proof of not vaccination status, I think, but a proof of a registered lateral flow test and things like that. They'll be doing spot checks. You're asked to wear masks in the common areas. That's the transit areas, stairs, hallways, between different areas. Inside the actual venues themselves, there's usually 2 halls at the Glasgow Whisky Festival, and it'll be, you treat it very much like you would if you're in a pub. So if you're up and just walking about, a mask, but obviously if you're enjoying whiskies and things like that, you don't need to have a mask. I'm looking forward to getting there. I really hope I'm able to get there on Saturday. Hope that everything stays okay for us to all be able to meet together after so long. There's so many barflies coming into Glasgow for that. It's delayed. It's normally out in November, but they've pushed it out to February. This is the 2021 festival. So I'm hopeful. I've not arranged anything. Usually we would have lots of events happening around it, but I haven't been motivated for obvious reasons to do that this year. But if the arrangements go ahead as planned for November, we can maybe get together and do some kind of barflies gathering or something then, and have a bit of fun just hanging out with each other, like we used to be able to do all in the before times. Jim Whiskey Novice, he's looking forward to come across. He's saying, I thought it was all Springbank, but Loch Lomond are winning me over. That being said, add them to the list. It's whiskey, isn't it? So that's interesting as well. So you assumed that Springbank was your favourite. I know Springbank's your favourite, Jim. But I think the reason that Loch Lomond has overtaken Springbank in your collection is because it's available. It's good value. You can buy it. Whereas Springbank, you're suddenly having to hunt for. Whisky Weekend Dram, Harrow's saying 37 open and 49 closed with 17 Kilkerran. That's my pet distillery. We might find some synergy there, Harrow. I hope you're doing well. David Evans is saying, I have 80 bottles at the moment and 10 of them are Glenfarclas. Not even my favourite whisky, but 100% my favourite distillery. That is interesting. That's interesting. So you've got other whiskies that you prefer more, but because of your love for Glenfarclas, 10% of your, 10 out of 80 bottles, so more than 10%, is from that distillery because you love it. It does factor into what we do. Sometimes we're aware of it and we're conscious of it. You know, some people are much more kind of present than I am, but sometimes you're surprised by it. You can literally do a wee count and say, oh wow, I really didn't expect that. Where did these come from? Don't even remember picking these up. It's been pretty interesting for me. Rolf Eped has said, my pet distilleries are Springbank and Bunnahabhain. The majority of my bottles are from them. A guilty pleasure is Ardbeg, but most of my purchases from them are now just looking good on the shelf. There's nothing wrong with enjoying the aesthetic of some whiskey bottles on the shelf. The shock for me, we'll get to it in the end, is that I think the reason I have so much of this whiskey is because of that very dynamic, Rolf. But thanks for sharing with us, because it's part of it. Well, Brother Ray saying my pet distillery used to be Ardbeg. Now not so sure anymore about that. I only have 2 open bottles of Ardbeg. And Whiskey Malt Content, that's Vlad. Fantastic to see you, Vlad. He's saying good evening, Roy. Good evening, Vlad. Good evening to Malt Brother Ray too. Listen, I've got something in the glass that I do enjoy. This is a Teaninich. This is a 10-year-old Teaninich, part of Diageo's Flora and Fauna range. Somebody asked recently, can you hold your bottles up a wee bit longer so that we can see them a bit longer? But depending on where you are on the planet, you can either get your hands on Flora and Fauna releases from Diageo, or you can't. I think in North America, these are tricky to get a hold of. But across Europe, and certainly in the UK, there are still 11 expressions available in this kind of Flora and Fauna labelling. Teaninich is one of the more available distilleries, I would say. that Diageo own in terms of being available through independents. It's really not available from them directly. They've had very few releases, even out in the special releases. Famously, they had a ridiculously overpriced one that came out in 2017, which was, I think, to celebrate the 200-year anniversary of Teaninich, but it was just far too expensive for a 17-year-old whiskey. It was a good whiskey. It was a lovely whiskey, an interesting whiskey, but nothing worth the price point. Absolutely. That's why it's still on the shelf today. Diageo seem to be bizarre at misjudging things like that. However, this Teaninich, sometimes it's about £50. Sometimes you can get it on offer. Interestingly, the site that it's very often on offer is Diageo's own malts.com website. Keep your eye on for special deals and things. The last time I bought Flora and Fauna was direct from Diageo. It just happened to be the cheapest place to buy it at that time, but you can find it generally everywhere. I like it because, you know, when you look at a big, huge corporate like Diageo, they are not a malts producer. They have 28, 29 distilleries in Scotland, right? You know, they produce more malt Scotch whiskey than anyone else, but they're not a malt producer, not at all. They're a blending company. Their focus in whiskey is on blends. So it's always been interesting to me that a company like that is the only company in 30, 40, 50 years of malt whiskey production that's been true to releasing product from all of their active distilleries, with the exception of Rose Isle, which is a slightly different animal. Rose Isle is set up to make any kind of malt for any purpose that Diageo could need, whereas the rest of the distilleries in the portfolio is much more traditional. I've made a video about Flora and Fauna product. You already know that I enjoy it. And isn't that interesting? Because it's a frustrating range. We're able to connect with these whiskies that we're not able to buy normally and at other times. And yet, it's at 43%. There's no statements on there about colour, about not using chill filtration. There are age statements on it. But that's it. And yet. So I wonder if I buy these whiskies because I'm soft on them, because I like them. Let's go further than that. I wonder if I enjoy these whiskies more because I love them because of how they exist. I wonder if I'm less critical of them. I wonder if I literally enjoy drinking them more for those reasons. That's one of the things I want to consider. Glennis Maid bought me a dram to say, "Evening, Roy, can't stick around. We'll have to catch up on the replay. Have a dram on me. Can't wait to see what the announcement is." Glennis, thank you very, very much for your drama, friend. Thanks to you. And another one's come in as well it's come from Norway. Let's see who that's from. But just as the chat moves, Whiskey Central's been a member for 15 months. And she's saying Klein Leash and Deanston, she likes the waxy malts, doesn't she? There's Sheila. I can't say I disagree with you there, Sheila. Glenn Anderson has bought me a dram. Love Teaninich. It's my favourite. Starter is best with refill cask. Most of the Teaninich that's out there comes from a refill cask. You often see really dark Teaninichs from the likes of maybe a Delphi or another independent bottler. But I have always found them to be quite fresh and bright whiskies. They often have a very lemony element to it. Almost, there's a bit of a fizz there. It's a wee bit reminiscent of rye, but it's not rye. It's similar to the way that the rye whiskies react on your palate. It doesn't taste like rye, but it's a kind of similar, almost fizz. For me, if you get the lemon and the fizz in the same bottle of Teaninich, it comes across as a kind of lemon sorbet thing. And I love it when I discover it. I think the best one to demonstrate that is their 17-year-old, which is far too expensive. But a lot of the indies have that element in it too. Glenn, thank you very, very much. And Glennis Maid, cheers for your drams. Let's get the health thing out of the way first. A month ago, I did a Whiskey and Health vPub. And I promised you all that I was going to start tracking my whiskey drinking. I did this about 3 years ago, and for me, it was all in check. And, a lot of things were at play there because I'm measuring my intake. So everything I pour, I'm very conscious of. I wasn't relaxed. I wasn't just saying, "Oh, I'll have another one," and forgetting how many glasses I poured. That's what happened 3 years ago. And it's what happened this time too. I reassured myself that everything was in check 3 years ago. I was actually drinking less than I imagined I would. That's not happened this time. This is going to be uncomfortable for me to share with you tonight because I'm actually a wee bit surprised and a wee bit annoyed with myself. I've kind of, you can blame lockdown. You can blame not being able to get out as much, not being traveling. There's lots of excuses for this. But the truth is, I've become lazy. My habits, I think, have been that when it gets to a certain point in the evening, unless I make the conscious decision that no, tonight's going to be cups of tea and water, I just go for a transition beer, a glass of wine, or a pour of whiskey. So I decided a month ago, this year, that I would talk about it, and I would start to measure it. So I'm going to share that with you now, because I think we're all lying to ourselves. We're all very comfortable lying to ourselves. Oh, I only have 1 or 2 drams and it's just 1 or 2 nights a week. And if there's a tasting, I have a few. Listen, some of the people that are saying those things, I've been at events and tastings and pubs and festivals and things with them. Okay, that sounds exactly like me, right up until you count them. Now, what I will say is I'll caveat the fact that it doesn't matter what I pour in a glass. I'm counting it as a full measure. Sometimes it's not a full measure. Sometimes it's 40%, 43, 46%. Other times it's cask strength. But I've just kind of measured it. I've not been scientific about it. I'm not measuring to the percent of ABV. I'm just counting individual pours. So 1 small pour of a whiskey is a unit. A pint of beer at 4 or 5% ABV is 2 units. A standard measure of a wine is 1 unit, that kind of thing. A large glass of wine would be 2 units. And that's how I've done it. I'm noticing that this app will not open for me. Maybe the app it's open now. I thought for a minute it was telling me that I shouldn't be admitting this. Now, what's interesting, because I was building up to this tonight, this week I was going to really try hard to just have 3-4 dry nights in a row, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But there was a thing happening on Tuesday night and we had some drams for that. So that kind of meant that I was going to be drinking on Tuesday night. And I can see here that actually 3 units on Sunday night, 3 units on Monday night. So this week, my dry nights are out of the window. And that's a disaster because it's the festival this weekend. So some context, this is my little calendar. If it's orange, it's bad news. That's binge drinking, according to this app. If it's green, it's a drink-free day. And if it's grey, it's somewhere in between. And 21.88 units for the 7 days up till tonight. That makes sense because there's not a Thursday in there, I don't think. So tonight I'm going to probably have 4 or 5, which is quite a bit. To give you a metric to measure what I'm drinking against, in the UK, they talk about low risk being 0 to 14 units per week for an adult. You have to be an adult, right? But they used to distinguish between men and women. They don't anymore. It's just 0 to 14 units. Increasing risk is 15 to 35 units. So that's kind of an amber warning to slow down, to cut back, to try and manage it. And then 36 units plus is high risk. So you know from me telling you that even in a fairly light week that I've had in the last 6 or 7 days, I'm at 22, round it up to 22 units. And tonight I'm going to have 4. So we're already at 26 units and I'm supposed to be keeping it under 14. I think the 14 is really, really difficult for anyone, even if your job isn't something that's involving alcohol. Your hobby isn't involving alcohol. 14 is difficult, but that's the guidance. 22 in 7 days is the lowest that I've achieved in this challenge. It was 28 the week before. That was the lowest I'd achieved. It was 32 the week before that. And it was 36 the week before that. So you can see that I've counted a 36 week and I've thought, I need to cut back, I need to cut down. But I didn't cut down on the nights that I was drinking. What I did is I plugged in another couple of dry nights and just said, okay, I'm not going to have a drink tonight. Or if I found myself having a beer, I said, right, okay, this is my beer. I'll have this as my drink with dinner, and then I'm having nothing more after that. Or even being clever enough that with dinner, pour water, so you're quenching your thirst with water, and then the beer, you might not even reach for it. But that was difficult for me to see that, because I can't even say actually that it's the beer, it's the glasses of wine. It's not that. It's definitely beer, yes, but it is probably, even in the whiskey thing, finding a way to weave in some more dry nights. If I talk about honesty and I can't be honest with myself, it's a problem, right? And if I'm being honest with myself, why wouldn't I say it to you? Why don't we just start telling the truth? Why do we kind of feel, oh no, I only had this? And I guarantee that if you're not measuring it actively, you're lowballing it. You probably think you're having less than you actually are. I don't want to tell anybody how to live their lives or what to drink or whatever. I don't care what you choose for your own personal enjoyment. But it would be good if you knew where it was. Daniel Williams is saying, I'm not lying to myself. I know I'm drinking far too much at the moment. So, I mean, I keep saying it. I'm going to try not to keep repeating myself tonight. That awareness is the first step. But at least you know, Daniel, you know. Whiskey with Molly saying no one is counting on Saturday, right? What happens at Glasgow Whisky Festival stays at Glasgow Whisky Festival. It's exactly the thing. You know, you're going 21 units. You get to Glasgow Whisky Festival, you know, there's going to be we'll go out for a meal after it. There'll be a gathering in a pub, probably the Bon Accord. We're all meeting in the Bon Accord on Saturday night. Is anybody going to keep count on Saturday? But that is an exception. We can't really be too hard on ourselves. That's much about the kind of getting together and being people together and having a nice time. I don't think it's that's dangerous, because the festival is an annual event. And I know that there are lots of festivals and tastings, but that's a special occasion. I think the real harm is done as we're slumped on our couch, or we're off touring to go to our golf weekends, or we're going to football matches, or whatever it may be. That's when I think harm can be done. Jimmy Legg is saying, you're really making this sound bad. Sorry, Jimmy. Jimmy Jazz is saying, glad we're not counting that weekend in Bristol. That's exactly my point, Jimmy. When we were together, I mean, it was nice. We weren't drinking fast. We were drinking slow and tasting. It was very much a savour thing. But it was, we used up our weekly allocation in a day, there's no doubt. Island Hopper Stewart is saying, it's so easy. Had a good day, then I reach for a drink. Had a bad day and I reach for a drink. There's always justification. You've got to be honest with yourself, absolutely. Gary is saying it's a topic that everyone should be honest about. It's too easy to tally up 20 to 30 units a week. As long as you keep track, it's a good start. Falsgraph is saying the good thing is I'm not at many tastings. Thursdays are bingey generally. I'm consciously reducing at the moment, especially since my father just had a liver problem. There you go, Falsgraph. I mean, everybody is starting to be honest. Malt Brother Ray, what do you drink when you don't drink beer, wine, or whiskey? Drinking water quickly becomes boring. There's a natural high to drinking water. Don't sip water. If you sip water with whiskey, that's fine, you know. But if you actually want to use water to stay hydrated, drink. I mean, properly take a drink and tell your body that you're drinking. Every morning, before I have anything to eat or whatever, I have a very large glass of water. I drink more than I feel like I need. My thirst is gone, but I'd force myself to drink more. And then within 3 to 5 minutes, it's not, you don't feel high. I'm not selling water to you, but there is a feeling that you can feel the benefit of having that amount of fluid. Of course, you're peeing for the rest of the morning, but that's okay because that keeps you moving as well. Jimmy Legacy, and I keep hearing about all this unit stuff in the UK. If we had alcohol guidelines in Canada, I've never heard of them. No one ever talks about them. What's it like in other European countries? Yeah, I mean, the unit thing is weird, and it's a bit kind of, there's a lot of finger trouble with it, right? It's just general guidance. And 14, if you drink and if you enjoy drinking in the UK, the vast majority probably struggle to keep it below 14. Now, there's lots of people out there that's only going to have wine with dinner on a couple of nights a week. Lots of people that weeks will go by and they don't drink much, but they still enjoy drinking when they do. but I'm going to suggest that it feels like to me often that you're in the minority. Fernando's saying, hello, everyone just joining now. And Andrew Butler is saying, I haven't been keeping track the same way as you, but I haven't had more than 14 drinks in a week. Sorry, 14. I have 14 drinks in a week since my last trip to Dornoch. I use a jigger, so they're all 25 ml, but some at cast strength. So, okay, you're a bit more controlled than I am, Andrew, but you're a bit more relaxed. It's 25 ml regardless of the ABV. For me, I tell you what I'm going to do. Instead of kind of saying, right, that's me done my month of keeping track, I'm going to continue to keep track. And I think that it's good because I've been conscious about it. And when I'm pouring, for instance, I've only got 4 bottles tonight and I've brought out 4 glasses tonight. I've got 3 empty and 1 with the Teaninich in it. And that's all I'm going to have tonight. So I know that I'm going to have 4 with you tonight. Maybe I'll have a refill if we run out or whatever. But my target is to just have 4 on a Thursday night with you. And then try and dial in and be much more conscious of dialing in dry nights. And the nights that I do have a drink, if I'm just going to take a drink to the couch, just take 1. Savor it, make it last, and don't refill the glass. That's the idea, so that I can get that. I'll never hit that 30 again. Hopefully I can keep it in the 20s. And just, just try and be much more conscious of it generally. But I guarantee you, in things like the Glasgow Whisky Festival on Saturday, I'm not going to change my behavior for that. I think I'm just I never leave those events feeling drunk or out of control, or, it's always just a really wonderful experience for me. So I think I want to kind of preserve that. And if it means that I have to give up couch nights and beer and wine with dinner in order to make that happen, then that's a fair trade for me. So I'm going to keep tracking it going forward. And if there's anything to report in the future, it's going to get quite boring though. I'll share with you in the future as well. I encourage you all, please, just do it for a week, a couple of weeks, a month. Keep track of what you're actually drinking, and try and predict what you think you're drinking in advance, and then keep track and see if it tallies up. But don't lie to yourself. Don't tell anybody else. Don't tell anyone that you're doing it. Just yourself. You're only telling yourself. Talk about commitment aqua vitae. We all know there are other glasses within a foot of you. There are other glasses there, buddy. That's true. Ryan Sutherland, good to see you, Ryan, and congratulations on the new role. Ryan is working at the new 8 Doors Distillery away up in John O'Groats. It was wonderful to see your face in the press announcements as well, Ryan. I think Jim McEwen touched on it. Ryan says, well, on this vPub appearance, there's a fine line between being in control and not, as long as you feel healthy and are conscious of your consumption. And everyone, Chris, good to see you, Chris. My wee boy is going cock-a-hoop over the badges and the wee tattoos and the stickers. And he went to school last week with a NASA tattoo on his arm. He absolutely loves it, and he's asked me to thank you on his behalf. You made him very, very happy. Anyway, you're saying alcohol affects brain chemistry. That's the real danger, as it messes. Oops, it jumped. As it messes with our decision-making, pleasure centers, it can become insidious. Insidious? If not careful. I think that you're only 2-3 grams in, and you're feeling really mellow, and you're feeling nice and comfortable, and you're looking at the glass saying, wow, this is delicious. And at that point, you're at the point where I'll just have another one more. Now, if you've got nothing on the next day, no commitments and things like that, maybe you'll just walk off and pour another one and sit down again and just enjoy it and be very happy. And that's fine. But if you're doing that too much, too often, for me, this is me talking about me, I just want to know I want to know. I don't like analyzing and measuring and keeping spreadsheets and documenting things. It's not really who I am, but I think it's worth it. I'm in my 50s now, after all. Anyway, listen, let's get the health thing off the table. What time are we at? It's 10:20. I've been teasing you for a couple of weeks now about a project that I've been working on in the background, and I've said that even though it's not aqua vitae, it's nothing to do with aqua vitae. The aqua vitae name or branding or anything isn't there at all. There is some overlap, of course, because it's whiskey, but it's not aqua vitae. It's a completely separate project. It's a complete diversification. But about the middle of last year, springtime last year, I decided that there's maybe something I would maybe consider doing. I would like to do this. I would like to step into this space that isn't YouTube and find another way to share whiskey. And then I talked myself out of it and said it's not for me, and then talked myself back into it, and then it's not for me. Anyway, this conversation I had with myself, but I always knew that it would be something that I would need a team of collaborators to put together. I could not do this thing on my own. And I started to make a little list of kind of the ideal people that I would be able to involve in this thing, for their skills, for their knowledge, for their experience, for their drive. And I decided in October last year and into November to put together a wee pitch and to actually put things down on paper so that I would be confident speaking to people about it. So I went out to the people that I had on my list one by one, and I just approached them and I gave them the pitch and I said, is this something you would be interested in? And I'm so grateful to every one of you. Thank you all. Thank you so much for your trust. They all said, aye, okay. They all liked it. They all liked the idea. So from November last year, just myself and one other, we started working on this project. Throughout December, we got more people involved. And then throughout January, we got more people involved. And we've been working really hard, really intensively over the last few weeks. I think that there's a wonderful vibe in the YouTube community, a collaborative, peer, mutual support and respect that happens on YouTube. And I think the community really benefits out of that. And the community are not separated and in different pockets all over the place. The community seem to be really quite connected. There's lots of overlap over channels and things. I think that that's special, and I think we should try and preserve it as long as we can. And I know that that exists in other spaces too, on social media, whether it's Twitter is your thing, or Instagram, or wherever you may be enjoying your whiskey content, Facebook, on the web. But I think it tends to be much more isolated, despite the overlap and despite mutual support and collaboration happening there as well. It's not quite as... So I started to think about that and say, well, if I start this project, is there any way that I could kind of stitch that into its kind of foundation? But the biggest reason, the thing that finally motivated me to actually do something with this project, was that the certain areas of the industry are going in this direction, and an enthusiast is going in that direction. This chasm is getting wider and wider, and I don't think it needs to be like that, because there is a reason for these things to exist in the industry, and there are reasons that the enthusiast feels the way that they do about their whiskey. They are not mutually exclusive, but there is no space right now that's safe to offer any kind of bridge, however tenuous, however slim it might be. There's nothing that exists right now. So I wanted that to be part of it too. So we got to thinking, and we came up with something called Dramface. Dramface is it's a website. Truthfully, it's a website. We can call it a platform, we can call it a hub, we can call it lots of things, but that's what it is. But it's an independent website. There is no advertising available. There's no sponsorship. You know the drill. It's got to be funded by the community that it's pointing towards. They are in focus. It's written for them. Everything is, they are the first point of consideration in everything that goes out. And there are no free products. There are nothing. There's no bottles to review. There are no sample packs to review, nothing. We're sharing our own opinions. Dramface is going to include reviews. It's going to include news, industry news, not written by us, shared from the industry, and also features or views. On those three pillars, they will be underpinned by a foundation of alias, writing under a persona, a Dramface. Why? It's not because we want to hide. We've said it a lot. Anonymity is not the same as secrecy. It's because we want to be free. If I write a piece as Aquavitae, when you read that, you'll think about what you know of me. You maybe even read it and hear my voice. But if you, much in the same way you would approach a blind glass of whiskey, you don't know what's in the glass, so you just judge the liquid. If you don't know that Aquavitae has written that piece, you read and judge the words, not perhaps the bias, the agenda, the ulterior motives of whoever's written them. So through that alias, you can suddenly have the ability for Aquavitae to have a ranty alias and a calm, pragmatic alias, or there's lots of different ways to play this. People that are less confident about their writing and less confident about having their name out in a public space can use the alias. But wonderfully, people from the industry who are impassioned and more knowledgeable than many, many, many folk out there, they see the stuff firsthand. They want a space to step forward and add to the discourse, to correct wrongs, to debunk, to give us insight, but perhaps not be shackled by sensibilities, loyalties, employment, whatever it may be. That's the idea of this site. It's called dramface.com. It's been switched on now while I've been speaking. I put it together with a team of, originally it was just myself and one other, then we recruited somebody else, then we recruited somebody else. So we recruited an editor. I got my A-list first pick editor. I recruited a sub-editor. I managed to get a hold of a web developer, somebody that's involved in UX and UI, and a fantastic technical resource, and a content marketer and copywriter all on board to help make this as good as it can be. I'll type the link in. I'm going to be putting this everywhere. I would love you all to do a few favors for us, not just for me, but for everybody that's been involved in putting this thing together. One of the things that we enjoy on YouTube is the interaction, the comments and things. We need to make this thing breathe. You need to inject it with energy. If you like this thing, comment, interact, and as it builds, we'll find more ways to harness that and give it life and give it relevance. If you like it, if you see a value in it, share the hell out of it. Tell everybody about it. Tell people that there's an independent, community-funded, well, right now it's funded by me, but that can't endure. It has to be something that funds itself, and ideally then pays the contributors. Because if that happens, the old traditional model has flipped. And the person paying for the content is the person who gets the most value out of the content. So the content is much more focused on the person, and it builds and it builds and it builds like this. The more relevant we can be, the more value we can bring to you. And this ever more complex scene that whiskey is becoming, we can't keep up with the amount of whiskey that's out there. We can only do it crowdsource style as a community. That's what it's about. That's what Dramface is about. So if you like it, please share it. Tell everybody about it. But if you don't like it, feedback to us. There's the ability to fund the platform through becoming a Dramface member, and that's funding the whole concept. But also, if it's just a specific article or a specific persona, alias, person, writer, author, contributor that excites you, or a particular article that you enjoy, each article underneath has a link for you to buy them a dram. It doesn't come to this Dramface site. It goes direct to the contributor as a thank you. You consider it much like the way that you buy me drams here every week. You can think of it a wee bit like that. I'm looking forward to just being out there. I'm looking forward to having a time away from the screen for a couple of days over the weekend. But I'm more than anything, I'm looking forward to you guys just getting your hands on this thing. It's going live with a full suite of reviews, a full suite of features, and a full suite of industry news as well, including an industry exclusive. Let's see. I've dropped the link in now, so if everybody wants to have a look. Bruno Martin's saying already registered. Thank you so much, Bruno. I hope you love it. Just signed up for an account, Mamuka. Fantastic. Connor Smith is saying my account, my whiskey journal is saying account created. Fantastic initiative, Roy. Liking it, Roy says, Rolf, fantastic, buddy. Pierre Croft is saying, good evening, Roy. Good to be back. Good to see you, Pierre. Good to welcome you back, my friend. And JG is saying, glad it's not asshat face or ass face. No, it wasn't going to be that. You might remember I used to talk about Dramface on the channel. I used to talk about donning or Dramface, that better version of ourselves in whiskey environments, right? But I stopped using it because I always had this kind of far off vision that I would use the name for this concept. So that's why I've stopped kind of using the hashtag and stopped talking about your Dramface on vPubs and things, because I knew that it could be a bigger thing than the Aquavitae channel, and it could be much more a different kind of relevance, if you like, but still very much focused on whiskey and the whiskey community. Jimmy Legg is saying discount code, wink, wink. Well, talk to me, Jimmy. We might be able to help you there, my friend, especially for folk like yourself. Whiskey Novice is saying, can we get behind this, folks? It sounds to me like it's something, once again, for us, the whiskey enthusiasts. Best wishes, Roy, Aquavitae, and all involved. Yeah, I want to say a huge thanks to the people that have stepped up and supported me, everybody that I asked, Justine, Scott Monroe, Rob, Alex, and Jason. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for just saying, I hope that we're able to pull together and do the community justice and do each other's efforts justice as well. It's on Twitter, as Gregor, time for a drama, is saying it's on Twitter as underscore Dramface and underscore Dramface on Instagram. Somebody had nicked Dramface on the accounts already. Harrow is saying, Campbelltown Funk article just now and Drinking Coquern, a latest batch. What a great initiative. Thank you, Harrow. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Jamie Brown is saying, couldn't sign up for the mail list. This looks, couldn't sign up for the mail list. This looks incredible. Thank you. Jamie, let us know if you've got any problems with that. It should be all working perfectly. Jimmy Legg saying I'm number 6. That's pretty good. It is. And Christopher Malloy says I'm subscribed. Wonderful, Christopher. Thomas Elmer is saying, yep, just made an account. Cheers. Peter will probably break the website. Peter Lay saying, good evening, sir. Kilted Moose is saying, thank you, mate. It's been a blast getting it set up. So when I talk about Scott, that's the Scott I'm talking about. Thanks for your support, buddy. Wonderful stuff. Toro Whiskey, estás por aquí. So, you need to spend a bit of time reading the About page. There's a podcast that we got together on Tuesday night, which is why Tuesday night couldn't be a dry night for me. We got together on Tuesday night and we recorded a podcast. Gregor McQuee, Time for a Dram, hosted us to ask lots of questions and things. He acted as if he was a community member, which he of course is, and he asked questions about what, why, how, and who, all the things that you want to know. There's a podcast on there as well. I'm really excited to hear your feedback. Unable to send form, please try again later. I think it's probably down to the fact that everybody's hitting it now. So just give it a bit of time, try a wee bit later. Some people, Molasses Mike has been able to create the account, so that's absolutely fantastic. It's probably just the fact that so many people, it's gone from cold to being switched on and then lots of people jumping in because of this announcement. But wonderful stuff. I'm really pleased with it. There's lots of other wee kind of hidden things and little quirks and things that we hope people all come to realize and enjoy and benefit from in time. Dramface looks like a great resource, mate. Well, Matthew, thank you very, very much. That's wonderful to hear. We are not hitting the ground running. We've managed to put together, I think we're going live with over 20 articles, over 20 reviews, articles and features. I think, in fact, quite a bit more than that. And we're scheduled out. There's plenty of content coming in the future. However, we don't have a great back catalogue. But if you've got 20, 30 plus articles going live tonight, you're going to be kept busy while we schedule out 2-3 articles over the course of the next week. If you want to keep in touch, sign up for the newsletter, follow us on the social media channels and things like that as well. But more than anything, let us know what we've got right and let us know what we could get a wee bit better. Don McCausland is saying, Aquavite, holy cow, there is so much content already. I'm going to be busy for a while. Fantastic, Don. I hope you enjoy it. Whiskey Works Graham is saying, account created and signed up. Looking forward to this. Superb, Graham. The Hogsheads is in as well. Good to see you, Hogshead. Andrew Pierce, good to see you too. Worked for me, account and newsletter. Fantastic. Andrew's a writer for Malt, which is another fantastic, independent, community-funded whiskey resource out there, maltreview.com. Good stuff. Erwin is saying, just created an account. Great idea, Roy. Fantastic, Erwin. Ebhead is saying, perfect timing for my 5 hours at Schiphol Airport tomorrow. Fantastic, Rolf. George Ellis saying, registered, thanks. Pierre Croft is also couldn't sign up. Pierre, if you continue to have problems there, I think it's just down to the kind of people hitting it just now. Peter Hunt is saying, evening all, I feel like I've missed something already. Dramface.com, Peter, that's what we're all talking about. I hope I don't lose lots of folk. They all jump off to read Dramface rather than hanging out in the vPub with all of us. Alice saying, Dramface looks superb. I've just joined up for the monthly membership. Well, that's terrific. Thank you so much for your support, Al. I'd encourage everybody to get a feel for it. Feel like it's something you can enjoy first. There's a footer that asks for a membership on every page, but it's there because on every page we've offered you something first. We're not ever going to ask for support until we've given you something. So everybody gets it for free first. And choosing to support financially is down to your own means, your own decision, your own whim, and it's always optional. Dramface will be free. There is a members area, of course, and we're going to build that over time as well. But before you go running in and signing up, make sure it's something that you love first. Account created and subscribe to Instagram, says Helen. Fantastic, Helen. Thank you. Peter Hunt is saying, I've just signed up. Super. Falsgraph, yes, the impossible sign pops up, but registration works anyway. I think it's just busy. Yash is saying, I've signed up. It looks like there's great content on there already. Absolutely, Yash. I think myself, the editor, sub-editor, everybody's really happy with the content that we've been able to go live with. Like I say, exclusives, we've had industry support, we've had people from the industry actively stepping forward and saying, this is good. How can we support? We want to be involved in this. They know that it's independent. They know that we're not going to be taking stuff from them. We can't give them any sponsorships. We're not going to take any whiskey from them. It's just our voice. And the people that step forward from the industry to support are aligned. And that's exciting. Jerry Miller is saying, thank you, Roy. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who helped you. Wonderful, Jerry. Thank you very much for your generous dram too. Jerry Miller, thank you, my friend. Cheers. Peter Lee is talking to Helen about Glasgow Rangers had a fantastic result in Germany tonight. They did very, very well. It was quite amazing. And I know that Helen Andy will be a very happy chappy tonight. Cohen is saying, when are you having the Grail whiskey girls on the show that are from Scotland? That's not even been broached, Cole. Maybe you should approach them. That could be fun. And Alice saying, going live with our website next week for our new business. Al, you probably know the amount of effort that goes into these things. I mean, it just looks like a few pages of text and pictures, right? It's an intensive thing. Whiskey with Molly is saying, can whoever came up with Wally Macaulay take a bow? That's really made me chuckle. So everybody that's there, you're going to just have fun getting to know these individual aliases as characters in their own right before. Listen, everybody that steps forward to write under an alias in Dramface controls their own anonymity. So you can know from reading the first article from them exactly who they are, potentially. Or it might be super important to them that confidentiality is not breached at all and it's locked down and you'll never know who they are. It's down to them. As long as they can give content and insight and value to the readership, they're welcome in this space. Inclusivity is fundamental to the whole thing. Saxon Scott is saying, looks very neat and stylish and so much interesting content already. Well done, Roy. Congratulations. Thanks, Saxon Scott. And it's good to welcome you in here, my friend. Peter Lee is saying, can you give Denise and I a brief description of Dramface as we have just logged on? Best thing to do is a couple of things, Peter. Pour yourself a wee dram, kick back, listen to the podcast. You're going to have fun listening to some familiar voices on that. Or read the About page. So as soon as you arrive on the homepage, dramface.com, there's a banner there right in the middle and it says, what's Dramface. What's a Dramface? Click on that and it'll take you through. It's just a single page read. It scrolls down in a natural flow, and that should let you know everything you need to know. John Drinks is saying you could have a whole lot of fun with this and create a whole larger-than-life backstory for your avatar. John Drinks, I suspect you are capable of writing a pretty fantastic article yourself. If you think it's something that interests you, put something together. I don't make the decision. I'm not the editor, but your opinions, I think, would make interesting reading, my friend. Peter Lee's saying thanks. Buddy, you're welcome. I hope you love it. I hope you enjoy it. So that's Dramface. Thanks to everybody who... So from day zero to going live was 2 months, just over 2 months, a couple of days over 2 months. That's what you can do with a bit of teamwork. I often wish that I'd maybe kicked it off a wee bit earlier, but timing is everything. And I think serendipity just brought people together at the right moment to be able to realize this in such a quick space of time. Kilted Drama is saying, great looking new site. Heading to bed, folks. My 50th birthday tomorrow, Kilted Drama. And Amy and I are heading to Dornoch for the weekend. Good night, folks. Let's raise a wee glass to the Kilted Drama. Many happy returns, my friend. Welcome to the 50 club. Well, tomorrow. Cheers to you. Enjoy your weekend. Terrific stuff. I hope you enjoy it. That's our wee distraction for tonight. And I kind of hope that it's not let down. It's not, I haven't been overselling it as I've been teasing it to you. My intention was not to mention anything and just let it go live and let it just kind of grow organically. But as it became more and more mature, I just realized that the audience I was speaking to, the audience I was pointing at was you. So Stefan Novak is saying, believe me, Aquavitae, I know how much work this is. Great job. It looks fantastic. Thank you so much, Stefan. Thank you. Whiskey Throttle is saying, I'm back. What have I missed? Hate getting interrupted because of work. You've not missed anything, Daniel. Have a wee look at dramface.com. Superb. So you now can probably understand why I wanted to talk about honesty and openness in the vPub tonight. I wanted to talk about honesty and openness from the perspective of health and how we're looking after ourselves or not, as the case may be, and being honest with ourselves first. But also the fact that honesty and integrity, and you can be as honest and as you can really try as hard to be as honest as you can possibly be. But putting that project together has made me realize that favoritism, having a personal bias in anything, whether that's things I love or things I hate, is a problem that needs to be managed. Not least because whiskey will one day give you a red face. You'll proclaim your hate for a whiskey and you'll hold it up one day not knowing what it is and say that you love it, or vice versa. Something that you say that you love, you'll say, oh, I don't like this. I think that if we're aware of what our own personal biases are, or what our own personal favorites are, and maybe the ones that we are a bit snobbish about, a bit cruel towards, ones that's potentially let us down on multiple occasions. But I think it's whiskey. It always deserves a chance. We need to approach this whole thing, this scene, as open-minded as we possibly can. And I really tried hard not to make this a preachy vPub tonight, but I think it's become so acute when I've been thinking about this concept, thinking about what I talk about week after week on the vPub. Try to be fair, try to be balanced. If you're going to be negative, that's a positive thing. Why? Because you're drawing attention to a negative aspect in the hope that it can be improved. It's a positive thing. But justify it. Tell the truth. Be honest. Be honest with yourself first. And if you can be honest with yourself, then probably you can go out to the world and be honest with them too. This is going to be an interesting diversification for me. I hope that I have fun with it. Alice saying, is there no end to your contribution and support to the whiskey community? Thanks very much. Remember, Al, this was definitely a team effort. There is no way this could exist without, I've got a super tenacious, focused, driven editor. I've got a high quality, very high integrity sub editor. I've got a very switched on tech support. I've got somebody taking care of the copywriting and marketing and social media. I've got somebody just looking from the outside in, making sure facts are right and guiding the ship and making sure that the tone is right. All of this, it's a team effort. And we're all very, very much aligned. Integrity is a first for everything. But Al, thank you very much for your dram. And Anthony Dunn's bought me a dram as well. Hi, Roy Storm here is killing my internet. Hope you have a great vPub and the storm misses you. I'll have a dram and I'll get the replay if it falls over. I know the storm was predicted to fall a wee bit south of us, but the last couple of nights we've had the bins getting blown up and down the street and things like that. We've had a lot of pretty bad weather over the last few days, and we could do with a wee break this evening, especially for festival weekend. We're supposed to be having a lot of snow tomorrow. Thanks, Anthony, and thanks very much, Al. Cheers. Let's pour. So I've got two here to make a point about what I was talking about earlier. Tell me if any of you have ever sipped a whiskey from Glen Spey. Have you ever had a whiskey from Glen Spey Distillery? Now you can see from the label here that this is another Flora and Fauna bottling. And here's another one, Strathmill. How many of you have enjoyed a whiskey from Strathmill Distillery? Because not only are these whiskies that don't exist as a core range, but Glen Spey and Strathmill are fairly rare from independents too. They don't appear very often. Now, let's be honest here. Most of the Flora and Fauna range these days, there's Blair Athol from the Highlands, there's Teaninich from the Highlands. That could be it. I can't remember, but I think all the rest of them are from Speyside. And that means that a lot of them are very similar. If you were to try and describe them and use taste notes to define one from the other, it would be very difficult, I think. You would need to have a very, very experienced palate tasting and a very experienced palate giving the tasting notes in order to find the definition. And there's a reason for that. Diageo is a blending company. So it makes sense that they would try and have multiple distilleries making a very, very similar product. So the Glen Spey is going into this Dram Team glass, and the Strathmill has gone into a clear glass. Think of Glenlossie and Mannockmore, sister distilleries, right next to each other, pretty much designed to do very, very similar things. That's what's happening generally. And that's very, very attractive to a blending company. That's why Rose Isle is keyed up to do exactly what it does. But whiskey is interesting because whiskey has a way of taking care of itself and defining its own style, its own flavor, its own... it's like, try as we might, we can only take care of a part of the story. I know that sounds a wee bit romantic, but in my experience, it stacks up. And I think a lot of people that make the whiskey kind of agree the same way. Peter Hunt is saying, I enjoy a Strathmill when it's late teens and early 20s. It's like a feisty Glen Grant. Well, this one is not so feisty. Because it's Flora and Fauna, it's 43%. This bottle's been open a long time. I knows that there it's really rounded out. It's quite, there's not much vibrance left in this bottle. Could probably do with just being killed off. But it's very fruity. It's apples, sweet apples. It's creamy. It's a wee bit oaky. But it's pleasant. Oh, okay, there's more on the palate than there was in the nose. Cut hay, grass, cereal and biscuits suddenly. Floral note. Thought it was all going to be about the fruit and the oak, but no, there's something in it. So even at 43%, it's still flavoursome. And this Glen Spey, I mean, honestly, is there anybody out there that drinks a Glen Spey that isn't Flora and Fauna? You really don't see many. Peter Lay saying, yes, I have. Gordon McPhail, Glen Spey, Carnmore, Strathmill, both excellent, fantastic. Whiskey Weekend Dram is saying, I'm good. And yes, I have some Glen Spey independent bottling, great stuff. One from Alistair Walker is amazing, PX bomb, but very good tasting, Glen Spey in it. So if it's a PX bomb, maybe you're getting less Glen Spey and more just a really nice, sweet, rich sherry experience. It didn't take much time to nose that one there. Slightly sweeter. There's a nice sweet odd, and this is what's great about sipping them in contrast like that, because sipping them in isolation, it would be difficult to differentiate, to tell them apart. But if you pour the two of them in contrast, I think it's quite compelling. There's a nice clove note that popped out there, something odd, something slightly bitter. No, it's not. It's like a black olive brine. So if you've ever got the jar of rather than fresh olives, the jar of the olives in water. So it's, that black olive, I can't remember what they call it. It's not a bitter whiskey. It's a sweet whiskey. It's easy to drink, but there's a nice bitterness to it. I thought it was like a clove spice, but it's a nice kind of bitter black olive thing. And I think that if I hadn't just come off the back of the slightly sweeter, more orchardy and oak Strathmill, I might not have picked that out in that wee Glen Spey there. I'm not saying it's in every Glen Spey. It's in this wee bottle tonight. Yash is saying I have one Glen Spey, a North Star bottling, not any Strathmill. Speaking of similar distilleries, I love Glen Elgin. Whiskey Throttle saying I have a Glen Spey SMWS bottling, number 80. Daniel, are there any gaps in your collection? I would be surprised. And Dominic Fife is saying Michael Jackson described Strathmill as a whiskey's orange muscat, a dessert malt. So that's this one here. Aye. I'll give you the orange. It's certainly sweeter than the Glen Spey. But the palate is a dry thing. It's a cereal thing. Interesting. Super Dominic, good to see you. And Johnny V is saying, I love Strathmill Flora and Fauna. I have a really nice signature 11-year-old too. So maybe there's a lot more out of it there than I imagine. Andrew Butler is saying, I've tasted 5 Glen Speys and 7 Strathmills so far, including the Flora and Faunas. See, that's the type of person I can never be. I'm so jealous of your administrative powers and skill, Andrew, that you actually recorded them all. And Cohen is saying, I better have a pour of the new Ben Nevis 10 now. That is a completely different animal from what I've got in front of me. So let me start with, since we're talking about independent bottlers, what I've done is I've divided it up into indies. My top 5 by bottle count. I'm not going to tell you what the bottle count is or anything like that. It's okay being honest, but I don't need to. Some of it's a wee bit embarrassing. Independent bottlers and favourite distilleries. And I'll go from 5 to 1. It's the top 5 in both, and I'll just share what they were. And I was a wee bit surprised. In the indies, number 5 was Gordon MacPhail. That's not a surprise because there's so much choice out there in Gordon MacPhail. So it makes sense that you would kind of do drive-bys and things and just pick them up. But the Gordon MacPhails that I have, with the exception of a Mortlach that's sitting over here that's a good age on it, a 25-year-old, the rest of them are quite affordable, quite young. And there's only one that's at low ABV. The rest of them tend to be the slightly higher 46% ABV Gordon MacPhails. So I was surprised how much Gordon MacPhail actually had. I'm not surprised to see Carnmore coming in at number 4. Carnmore is widely distributed. It's very available in Scotland. The really in-demand bottles disappear quickly, but you can usually find Carnmore sitting on the shelf, no problem at all. So that comes in at number 4. Signatory Vintage makes perfect sense that they would come in. If you never get to see behind the chair here, but there's a wee collection of my favourite Signatory Vintages sitting right behind me, special occasion bottles, let's say. And throughout the collection, not just the cast strength decanter series, I've counted the unchill filtered or whatever the other ranges may be. They're getting a wee bit pricey now, but there was a time that Signatory Vintage was some of the best value out there. I think those days have gone now, but you can still pick up some of the tall, slim bottles at a good price. Usually they're watered down. I wouldn't go below the 46% unchill filtered series. In my experience, I don't even know if they're still doing those, but I think they used to. Second place, SMWS. I still have, despite I've got rid of a lot of empty SMWS bottles recently. I took a sabbatical of membership for a year from them. The venues weren't open, and I wasn't buying that kind of whiskey because it doesn't do me much service in the vPub. But I've still got a lot of bottles hanging about. The number one independent bottler for me is, you can probably see that there's quite a stash of them if I move that bottle out the way. Even here, and that is North Star. I have a really surprising amount of these bottles. Most of them are sitting over there open. There's usually a good selection. Most of them are Speysiders, interestingly. A couple of Highlands. I seem to be drawn to these. They're pretty good. I know they're not distributed everywhere yet. They are getting more and more distributed as they build a name. But I think it's just very available and affordable next to me. So these kind of things, they betray you. Because if I go into a shop, I guarantee you now, I know that I bet you the next time I go in, I'm going to be drawn to the North Star bottles. Whereas in the past, I was maybe going to be drawn to, I don't know, a Carnmore or a Dramfull or something else. It's interesting. And there's definitely a subconscious thing. North Star is only, I think, about 3-4 years old at the most. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to have done that bottle count and realize I had no idea that probably my favorite independent bottler is North Star until I did that bottle count. But now as I think about it and process it, that's probably true. The vPub doesn't lend itself well to independent bottlings because often it's 200, 300 bottle outturn. So what's the point of talking about something that most people can't really get their hands on? There is value in it. Honestly, there is. It's not that I won't ever talk about these things, but generally speaking, I try to talk about things that everybody can get their hands on. Hoyt, for instance, he's in the States, and he's saying not familiar with North Star. That makes sense, Hoyt. Independent bottlers, for lots of reasons, scale and the amount that a lot of it is single cask, don't make it to the States oftentimes. Graham Fraser, good to see you, Graham. Adelphi and Thompson Brothers are great releases, but only in small quantities. And I think Adelphi and Thompson Brothers are going to be in high demand. They do disappear quite quickly, especially if a reputation comes out at the same time for an Adelphi release, and Thompson Brothers is always in demand. So that doesn't, even if we're here in Scotland, it's tricky to get a hold of the best of the stuff that they release as well, Graham. Jimmy's saying, this is angering me, only G&M ever available here. I can understand it, Jimmy, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to drag you across here. We're going to get you across that sea one day, and we're going to send you home with nothing but one pair of clean underpants and 2 cases full of your favourite whiskies. Helen is saying, biggest slice of indies here would be Douglas Laying. I was surprised. You know, even if I included the remarkable regional malts that I have and I love from Douglas Laying, I was surprised that I didn't have more, especially when they have such a vast range. They have the XOPs. I don't know of any XOPs, actually. Maybe one. They have the Provenance. They have so many, I can't remember them all now, but so many ranges. I was surprised, Helen, but it makes sense why you enjoy them so much. Falscraft is saying, yes, I'm aware of being drawn to Douglas Laying. North Star might be worth exploring since they become increasingly available now in Germany. So they're starting to make it out in wider markets. And Matt Bishop was saying, did you hear this week that North Star owners have just announced their new Campbelltown distillery? I picked it up on a site, a brand new site, Matt, that's just out, called dramface.com. You should check it out. It looked really good. There were lots of interesting industry news there. I'll drop the link in for you, buddy. I picked up that news hot off the press this very day. Pete Head is saying, for me, most independent bottlers are for SNWS and AD Rattray. The others, only 1 or 2. And probably, Frank, you're in the Netherlands. It's perhaps, maybe, rather than a preference thing, it could be a distribution thing. I get that. Belgium's Asta Morris is a great indie bottler. The owner, Bert, is a great chap too. Fantastic. So you're getting serviced locally. But we're on the other side of that, Geordie, aren't we? That I have never heard of Asta Morris, and I've certainly never seen any on the shelf. Chris Pollack is saying, after Brexit, Thompson Brothers are no longer shipping to Austria. What a pity. Brexit's caused a lot of issues for whiskey lovers, for lots of folk everywhere. Kilco is saying, I've noticed that a trend when I go to liquor stores. Excuse me, Brian. Let me pull that back. Oh, you're down there. I find myself, Brian says, looking over bourbons first and then glancing at the Scotch. Part of that, of course, is the current dollar, its price. I know the exchange rate, you know, the legacy that's still not cleared over that tariff issue. I know the prices that you're paying, the horror stories that I see, Brian, is crazy. Shameless promotion, Roy. Love it, says Jerry Miller. He's talking about the Dramface thing. But it's not just about, I think when you go into that Dramface space, you're not going to feel or see aquavitae. I don't even think the word aquavitae is written on that entire site. That this is a much bigger thing than this channel. This is a community-wide thing with lots of people behind the scenes. There are over 12 people involved in realizing that site going live after 10 o'clock tonight, behind the scenes. There's the core founding team, but there's writers and contributors. And even if they're not published yet, they've got content scheduled in the coming days, or they're busy polishing the drafts of the content for the coming weeks. It's fabulous to see. It's magical to be part of. It's terrific. And Peter Lay is saying, I've got a stash of North Star and Canmore. Peter, I don't doubt for a second, my friend. And Whiskey Throttle saying, we have quite a bit of indies where I reside, including North Star. I might have one bottle. I'll have to check. The reason I'm sharing this with you tonight is that I think it's important to you that you know, hey, Roy's got a bit of a fetish here for North Star bottles. I can see why he would rave about this. Now, you're maybe going to not think that I'm raving about a release because it's one of my fetishes or favourites, something that I'm biased towards. But it's part of the process, isn't it? This is video. This medium is video. So it's more exposed. It's not down to the words that I curate and polish and clean and adjust and edit. It's instant. It's in real time. So you see my reaction to certain things and you hear how I react to them, how I respond to whatever it is. And it's likely that if you see me in my favorite distillery space or my favorite brands, whatever it may be, that you need to weave that in a wee bit. It makes sense. We are all human. I try my very, very best to be objective, but whiskey, the reason I love it is because it pulls and draws on emotions. Ryan Sutherland is saying, hopefully not a news desk shares more good news soon. No doubt, Ryan. Absolutely no doubt. I think there's some news that's overdue from you to be added in there. I'll need to give her Nori a wee nudge. Alistair Gray is saying some of the prices in the recent independent bottlers have been released are expensive, almost laughable, to be honest, especially the young whiskies. There used to be a time, and I've talked about this on the vPub before, there's no use, kicking a dead horse. There used to be a time that independent bottlers offered the cheaper route to the experience from the distillery. A much more unique experience sometimes better quality. But the independent bottler used to be priced under the official. That's out the window. Those days are gone. Gone. And we are not checking it as consumers. We're just queuing up and we're buying it. So it's going to continue to happen. We have to look at the value proposition. We have to work as a community to find where the value is. Alice saying, Roy, you kindly sent me my first ever taste of a North Star last year, and I've bought 2 bottles since. One was the Ralphie Glenrothes 10-year-old celebration bottle. That's fantastic. I'm glad that you were enjoying them, and I'm glad that I was able to help you enjoy some nice whiskey. Danny Vermaas is saying, Ian is doing a great job at North Star. I can see your enthusiasm, Aquavitae. Well, he's not just doing a great job at North Star. The news is out today. Go to dramface.com if you want to hear the news. They've released today details of the planning permission for a new distillery in partnership with some other people involved, of course. And there's South Star releases to mark that launch and occasion as well. Thomas Elmer is saying, just going through the numbers in my head, sounds like you finished. Oops. Oh, Thomas, message retracted. You maybe just want to fix something. You get to edit your words when you write in text, don't you? Fantastic. So I've told you my favourite indies. So just before I kind of make a point here, I'm going to take you through, there's going to be some things in here that are not a surprise, but one of them was a surprise to me because I predicted what my top 5 distilleries were going to be, what I thought I had the most of. And in this top 5, I predicted that I would see perhaps a Glencadam or perhaps a Deanston in here. I was absolutely certain that I would see Clynelish in this top 5, and it's not here. So what has overtaken the Deanstons and the Clynelishes, and what's overtaken my new latest favourite, Glencadam, my producer of the year, to be in my top 5? Jimmy Jazz is saying congrats on Dramface in 5 years. So the reason that Dramface went live tonight, and it's just pure, it's just me pleasing. Yes, and the team don't even know this, is because on February 17th in 2017, the Aquavitae channel put out its first video. You don't need to go back and watch it. It's there for posterity, but you don't need to go back and watch it. It was the first ever thing. I didn't really have a fully formed idea what I was doing, but it was February 17th, and it's 5 years to the day, to the evening. Channel was launched over a glass of Coquerin 12-year-old 5 years ago. But I thought, well, if we're going to pick a day, let's pick that day. Just pure indulgence. But that's the reason. So thanks, Jimmy Jazzy, saying, in another 5 years, we will expect an independent bottling corporation. Jimmy, thank you so much, my friend. Looking forward to hanging out with you again soon. Cheers. It would be great fun to have you at a Glasgow festival one time, Jimmy. So, yeah, the Clynelishes and the Deansons weren't there. At number 5, the whiskey that I've been buying the most of in the last couple of years, it would seem, would be Loch Lomond. Same as Jim Ingram, right? And that's probably because they are one of these rising stars. They are in the ascendancy. They're getting things better. Not just Loch Lomond, Glen Scotia, their sister company too. Still not there, still not 100% there. But the product's available. It's interesting whiskey. It's often very good whiskey. If they could make that last push, they don't need to make all their range fully natural and everything that the enthusiast wants, right? But if they could, for the nice stuff, for the more expensive premium stuff, make it natural, we'll shout about it from the rooftops. Because we want to shout about our Springbanks. We want to shout about our Ben Nevis. We want to shout about the things that we love that is natural, but we can't get easily. We can get Loch Lomond for a while at least. And you know what? If Loch Lomond go natural and we shout about it and you can't buy it anymore, then that's a success. And it encourages other producers to follow the model and step into that space. Loch Lomond's at my number 5. Demonstrates exactly the achievement that they've realised over the last few years. Zenbod is celebrating being a Barfly member for the last 2 years. Hi, Barflies, just a quick hi. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you, Tom. I hope you're keeping well. The Barflies are the people who keep the vPub ad-free. The vPubs will never be monetized because it's supported by Barfly members. Thanks, Tom, for your support over the last couple of years, my friend. Number 4, nobody's going to be surprised to hear this. I'm surprised to hear it because it's tough to get hold of, but I'm coveting these. I'm pouring them very parsimoniously. Parsimoniously, is that the right word? I'm being very stingy with them. Springbanks. So I've got the core range of Springbanks here. I've got a few wee nice ones. I've got 1 bottle of local barley left. I just love having them here, but also know how difficult they are to be replaced. So I've probably stepped off drinking them as much as I normally would. But on bottle count alone, Springbank comes in at number 4. Number 3 is not going to be a surprise to anyone either. And it wasn't a surprise to me, Kilkerran. Bottle count, Kilkerran is my number 3. And for the same reason as Springbank, I love the stuff. Absolutely love it. Some oddballs have come out from Kilkerran. Not everything I like. I'm not sure I've found a triple distilled that I love yet. I'm not sure I've found, apart from the Recharred Sherry, the 57.1% one a couple of years ago was wonderful, really interesting. Some of the kind of super cask-led Kilkerrans I've enjoyed, but not fallen in love with. For me, Coquerin is about bourbon cask or refill cask. Jimmy Legg is asking if I'm counting Hazelburn and Longrow. Interestingly, Jimmy, no. I'm speaking specifically about the Springbank brand. If I added Longrow and Hazelburn in, they would be at number 1. There's no doubt about that. Coquerin is number 3. The one I expected to be at number 1 is actually at number 2. And this is a legacy thing. And I predict that this is going to fall down the charts rapidly. I'm not buying it anymore. It's not pointed at me anymore. And that's a shame, because my heart lies in this distillery in the south coast of Islay, Lagavulin. Lagavulin is my number 2 based on bottle count, but I can't tell you the last time I bought a bottle of Lagavulin. There are still affordable Lagavulins out there. Don't get me wrong. The 12 is off the table for me now at £130. I know it's cask strength. I know it's delicious at £130 for a 12-year-old whiskey. Sorry. It's not my party anymore. I'm going to find somewhere else. 16-year-old is now £70 to £75. You could argue that it should have been trading for that, but I'm saying if you want to charge me £70 for a bottle of Lagavulin 16 Diageo, you don't get the same consideration that you previously got when I was at £50. It's 43% whiskey. It's chill filtered and it's coloured. If you're going to play the £70 game, you need to bring it natural. Or perhaps you're pivoting and you're putting it out there as a luxury product and we are not factoring in your consideration anymore, which is far more likely. So I'm not going to be buying that anymore either. So Lagavulin is going to diminish and collapse. It's going to fall down. It was my number 1. There's no doubt about that. I was surprised that it's at number 2. What's at number 1? Here's the shock. But you think about it and it makes sense. See if anybody can guess what my number 1 whiskey in this collection by bottle count is. Hellswood is saying Lagavulin 8-year-old, £38 with a club card currently at Tesco. No, it is at your Tesco. You're fortunate, but it's not at mine. I think it's a regional thing with Tesco. I don't think it's national. It's weird because I should probably check Tesco Direct online or something like that. I've got a club card, so if I could pick up Lagavulin 8, Helen, I would probably say, yeah, I'll buy that. That makes sense. McAllen Final Rare saying, funny, my number 2, Laga, and number 4, Springbank. Yeah, that's not, it doesn't surprise me at all, Doc. It doesn't. And it doesn't surprise me that you know what your top 5 is as well. And Alice saying he just purchased a bottle of Lagavulin 8. And Jordy's saying, how many bottles are in your collection, if I may ask? Also a way of telling my girlfriend that my 200 plus bottles are not excessive. When I started the channel, I would guess I was in the realms of about 120 bottles of that order. It is somewhere in the order of 3 to 4 times that now. I know exactly what the number is because I just shared with you. It's much higher than I expected, but a lot of it are like these, the ones that I'm sharing with you tonight that really could do with just being cleared out. So there's probably, I've still got a basket here for the recycled review. You don't expect me to film in this, whether it's brutal. Okay, if it's an independent, it's not going to be much merit for a recycled review, but there's lots of bottles there that's on their way out, so it's probably due a bit of a clear out. But all that happens there is I just make space for more, right? I hope that helps you, Jordy. Time for a drama saying, let me guess, Dalmore. Let's see what the guesses are coming in. Aaron is up there. It's just outside the top 5. Glengoyne, again, that's up there. Sabrina thinks Teapot. Nope. I have 1 bottle of Teapot right now. Glenallachie, Glenfiddich, Glenturret, Deanston. Deanston Hoyt is, I was surprised not to see Deanston in the top 5. Deanston, Loch Lomond is at number 5. Andrew Hamaker is in. Nobody is getting it. And that's okay. That makes me feel a bit better that I was surprised. Colila. I have more bottles of Colila on the shelf than any other distillery. That's incredible, isn't it? Colila. It does make sense. Why does it make sense? Because don't think about Colila 12 or Colila 18 or Colila 25 or the core range. Think about Colila that's available from everyone and everywhere all the time. and it's rock solid most of the time. There's a huge joke in the industry that people talk about it's difficult to screw up Caol Ila. It's just rock solid, and we're so grateful to have it, that 6+ million litres per annum of rock solid Islay whiskey. So that Falstaff has summed it up perfectly. Surprising, but not surprising. Jimmy Legacy, now you and Serge are together. Is that one? Is that? I didn't even figure that about Serge. I knew he was into his Klein Leashes and his Broras and things. I knew he liked to Lagavulin. I didn't appreciate that was a thing for Serge, but it's an incidental thing. I had no idea that was the case. Some of them are not. They don't even say Caol Ila on the bottle, but I happen to know that it's Caol Ila that's in them because I've had information behind them. So that went into the count, to be fair. But it was quite considerable. Your app is saying don't just finish those bottles off right now. Yeah, that's right. When I talk about polishing off bottles, I'll need to do it carefully. But Nick, I'll do it when I'm sharing them as well. I guess closest to Caol Ila says, what did you guess then? Watchman 999, that's Nathan, isn't it, Nathan? What did you guess if it was closest to Caol Ila? And Doc is saying, what? Shocked and surprised. I was surprised too. Greg's Whiskey Guide is saying, great choice, Aquaviti, solid and available. Also awesome when getting old. Still an underrated distillery. It's crazy. Since I heard of Caol Ila for the first time, it was Caol Ila and underrated in the same sentence. And yet here we are, 12, 15 years later. We still say it's the same. And I think it's a brand image thing. It's nothing to do with the liquid. Stefan is saying, yes, Caol Ila is my bottle count #1 as well. I was surprised, but it makes sense if you think about it. Rock solid and great value. However, do you really think the next time I review a Caol Ila, I uncork a Caol Ila for you and sit here, and do you think I'm going to be soft on that whiskey? Do you think I'm going to be... I mean, there are exceptions, there are nuances and caveats everywhere. There's always context to consider. No. Every bottle of Caol Ila, it's like Caol Ila has the ability to permeate into so many brands, so many. It doesn't really have its own thing. It's like this all-inclusive distillery. It's like this almost democratized Islay whiskey. I don't know how to describe it. And it makes sense, as Falstaff says, surprising but not surprising, that I've got so many bottles from that Islay distillery. Do you have any of the unpeated Caol Ila? I had the 15 and the, I don't even remember what the age was. The other one, I think they're both Ahoyt and recycled reviews. They're both long gone and finished. I know that there's a lot of people out there that are fans of unpeated Caol Ila, but it just never made a lot of sense for me. There was never anything that really stood out about them for me. There are people that love them. Most of the official unpeated Caol Ilas are very high ABV as well, cask strength. So they can often play a wee bit hot and do best with water. Dribs and Drams is saying my top 4 pet distilleries, fantastic, Dribs and Drams. For now, is #1 is Brooklarry, 2 is Ardbeg, 3 Arran, 4 Shelter Point. I have a lot of Caol Ila, but all independent bottlers. I have a mix. I have about 5 official bottlings, I think. I think it was 5. And the balance is definitely made up from indies. Whiskey with Molly saying the James Eady Caol Ila and Palo Cortado cask last year was amazing. Terrific stuff. How are we getting on for time? An hour and a half in. Wow. Have I covered everything? I'm looking forward to seeing whoever is going to be there at the weekend, the Barflies. My tickets are here. Ben, Whiskey with Molly, Sevi, Jim Ingram. Who else have I got a ticket for here? Looking forward to hanging out with you at the weekend. It's been a long time. I'm looking forward to having some spicy food with you after it and then relaxing at the Bon Accord a wee bit later. I hope all the travel plans go ahead and I hope everyone's health stays in check. Jimmy Legacy, I always blame Caol Ila for my long love of Johnny Walker Black. That makes sense. Johnny Walker Black, I often struggle to pick out any kind of smoke in it at all. DJ11 is saying I'm at a place in my journey where it's hard to choose between buying something new or replacing something I love. I know exactly what you're talking about, especially DJ when you're doing the channel. So much of my purchasing now is focused on, is the community going to get benefit out of this? Hillswood is saying, I had the unpeated Kalila and Isla, and I nearly bought it, but plumped for a Laga Jazz Festival bottling instead. And Che Francis is saying, I'm going to Glasgow Whisky Festival and looking forward to it. Che, it'll be good to see you again and raise a wee glass with you too, buddy. Falscraft saying, having favourite does not mean you're biased. You can be emotionally drawn to one thing, but still be objective, and constantly sticking to value for money. It makes a distillery stand out. It's the thing, it was last year, but I've kind of doubled down on it this year as well. The focus of the vPub is going to be value, value, value. So I have something in my collection that trumps Kalila. I have something in my collection that I have more bottles of than Kalila. And you can probably guess what it is because I'm pouring my 4th dram now. And I just want to show you that dram 2 and dram 3 are still very much intact. And there's even a wee bit left of the Teaninich. And here's my 4th dram of this. And it's another Spey cider. It's Glenlossie. So this is what I actually have. It's not a distillery, but it is a brand. It's all from Diageo, and it's this Flora and Fauna series. It's a range, let's call it. But I have more Flora and Fauna in my collection than anything else. And that is a fetish. I think these are pretty. I think they're interesting. There are so many things about these bottles that I should not be drawn to, and yet I am. They are not naturally presented. They're at 43% ABV. The only thing that they have going for them is the age statement and the fact that they come from interesting, normally under the radar distilleries. And I love them. You can see here, this little selection down here, these are all Flora and Faunas. And some of these Flora and Faunas are just unlikely that I'm going to need a reason to open some of them. For example, Clynelish. When did you last see a Clynelish Flora and Fauna? But this will be opened. Maybe one day when I'm actually visiting the distillery. That would be an excellent bottle to take up. I've got a Delhue and a Mortal. I've even got a Kalila. And you know, that was really funny about that. I might not have counted that Kalila in the Kalila bottle count, but I've got a Kalila. It's a 12-year-old official now, but when it was Flora and Fauna, it was 15 years old. So there you go. I don't think that's counted in the Kalila count. That's incredible. So there you go. I have more North Star Indies than anyone else. I have more Kalila on the shelf than any other distillery. Both a total surprise to me. And I have more Flora and Fauna than either of those things. So it's nice to be aware of these things, isn't it? And it's nice to consider the next time I'm out purchasing. I say, ooh, another Kalila for a good price. I've got plenty. Ooh, a Flora and Fauna. I can do without it. I'll still probably be picking up North Stars. Time for a Dram is saying, it'll be open when I visit Merlik. Fair enough. Gregor, if you're here in this room and you want to open either of those bottles I just showed you, you'd be very welcome. Totally agree about the Flora and Fauna. I love the Teaninich, Linkwood and Strathmill. And Falscraft is saying, when was that? What you asking? Sorry, Falscraft. Sorry, buddy. Doc has got 21 Flora and Fauna in the collection. I bet you some of the Flora and Fauna you have are really quite nice ones too, Doc, as well. Thomas Elmer, sorry, saying that Compass Box for me. I love their presentation. You know, I do have a few Compass Box. I like them. I really do. I'm a wee bit surprised that I don't have more, especially when the outturns of Compass Box are enough for you guys to be able to share it as well. Basusterveld is saying, sadly, I'll have to go already. Another great vPub. And congratulations on the 5 years and unveiling of Dramface Announcement. Yeah, good to see you. See you next week. Baz, thank you for your recent support as well, my friend. It's wonderful to have you in here. Slancha to you. And a nice wee Fusty Glenlossie. That is Fusty. There's a bit of dunnage in this, despite its youth. It's only a 10-year-old. But it's always, this 10-year-old bottle that I have just now has always tasted a wee bit Fusty. Graham Fraser saying Flora and Fauna from Altmore, Bladnoch, Pittyvake, Royal Brackla, Craigella can make interesting comparisons to today, and those are all lost Flora and Faunas from the past. And Doc is saying the Thrusk Flora and Fauna was on offer for the equivalent of £32 GBP the other day, and that's a good one. The one that did surprise me when I opened the bottles was actually the Strathmill and the Teaninich. I've always kind of had I do like the Teaninich. I've grown to love it more and more over time. There is a quiz tonight, and you might not be surprised that there's a theme. The theme is not the vPub theme. The vPub theme is kind of being honest about health, being honest about opinions, being honest about habits with ourselves first. And I don't expect everybody to share the truths and be honest with everyone else and things. Just relax and enjoy your whiskey space and enjoy your whiskey experiences. But please be honest with yourself. Please talk about how much you're buying, how much you're drinking. Talk about where your biases and favoritism lies and things. And I think that will weave into your future decisions. And I think it'll take the power away from people who are very good at leveraging our biases and our favorites and things and give us more power. That's kind of my wee naive thought about it all. Andrew Butler is saying, I do have Flora and Fauna Pittyvake. Now, interestingly, for it being a closed distillery and for it being a discontinued Flora and Fauna, Pittyvake was available at retail for years after it was discontinued. It was one of the unloved Flora and Fauna. And I have to say, I tried it very recently and I didn't see what the big deal was about. Jimmy Legg is suggesting that it was it's perhaps a dishonest quiz. No, but you will work out what the theme is tonight. There's no doubt, Jimmy, that you'll work out what the theme is in tonight's quiz. Yeah, Andrew, I didn't work out what the big deal was about. I didn't find it to be that offensive. Maybe not the best whiskey I'd ever had, but it was fine. I would even go as far to say it was quite interesting. Anyway, if you're up for staying for the quiz tonight, I would like to get that over with so that you can all wander off and spend a wee bit of time reading all the effort that's gone into all those articles that we've launched Dramface with this evening. Tommy Elmer is saying, oh my God, we were talking about spending too much. Good Lord, I thought it was just consumption. No, it's all part of it, isn't it? But Tom, you're right. Maybe give ourselves a bit of a break. It is supposed to be fun after all, whiskey. We're not supposed to feel super guilty about it. But I think that's the point, isn't it? If we can be in a healthy space with it, we can actually enjoy it more. Jimmy Legg is saying Springbank and Coquera not in a box anymore. Same there. Absolutely. It's the naked bottles now, they're calling it. And I think it's a good move. Even if there's no such thing as a transport box anymore, let's be honest. It's coming through the door in bubble wrap or padded out with shredded paper and cardboard and things. There's just the boxes. Just, I know some people love the box. Some people love to go through the ceremony of opening a box and taking a bottle off and pouring and putting it back in and sealing it up. I love to see the glow of the liquid. I love to see the level in the bottle. I love to see the labeling. I love to see that's what I prefer. As soon as a bottle is open, the tube, the cardboard is gone for me. So I don't need it. I don't really care about it much. So I'm looking forward to seeing you at the weekend. I hope that you get something out of Dramface. But let's kick in and enjoy this wee quiz. Let's see if I can pull this up. Is this tonight's quiz? Yes, it is. Add to stream. Here we go. I'm sure it's not going to be your first time, but there is a chance that there are some first timers in tonight. The quiz is it's always optional. It's multiple choice as well. If you do keep score, you're only keeping score for yourself. You're only playing against yourself. There are no prizes. Just kudos. Just a bit of fun. And I hope you have fun with this one tonight. I predict fully there will be 10 out of 10s tonight. Plural 10 out of 10s. Last week was really brutal. It was really difficult. I think it's going to be a lot easier. Watchman saying, I can see you on the list of Dramface founders. I think it would be worthwhile to have you showing. Oops. It jumped, buddy. I was just reading that. I need to find you again. Here you are. I can see you on the list of Dramface founders. I think it would be worthwhile to have you showing somewhere in there. No, I'm going to enjoy being anonymous. Let me have a bit of fun. Let me play with that, please. I'm sure you're going to work out who most people are within, but by that time it doesn't matter. You might know which alias belongs to which writer, but by that time the concept has already dawned and been accepted and people understand what it's all about, so that when new aliases step forward, they're judged on the words that they write and not who they are. I think that's important. I think a few of the people that are writing for us, it's going to be absolutely obvious who they are. Anyway, good luck with the quiz, everybody. Good luck. I've enjoyed sharing all this honesty with you tonight. Let's skip on to something different. Question 1. This quiz tonight is the Dramface edition. So where I usually rely on my trusty reference books, not least of which is the Malt Whisky Yearbook, which I love dearly, as you all know, tonight all of the questions has been taken from the brand new, freshly launched tonight Dramface. So I hope you like it, and to celebrate a wee bit of 5 years of the vPub. But there's no kind of vPub questions. I've not been that self-indulgent. Good luck, everybody. Question 1. Which of these closed distilleries was one of the 3 lost Inverness distilleries? It's famously the trifecta of lost. All distilleries in Inverness are lost. Glenalbyn, Milburn, and one other. Was that A, Caperdonick, B, Imperial, or C, Glenvor? Alice saying, I'm scared to take my bottles out of the boxes as I'm worried about the whiskey being adversely affected. If you are in a place where you've got direct sunlight coming in the window, something like that, yeah, you might want to. I don't know about what the climate is like for lots of people, but for us here, no, it's never been an issue for me. I've never stored them in boxes ever, and I've never had a problem. Not that I'm aware of. Look at all you knowledgeable whiskey folk knowing exactly that it's Glenalbyn, Milburn, and of course, Glenvor, which makes up the 3rd lost distillery in Inverness. Good start for everybody. Fantastic. Doc is talking to Andrew Butler. 2 of us liked Petit Veich. 1 was ambivalent and 5 hated it. Wow. Here we go. Question 2. Which of these is a genuine Spanish whiskey brand? Now remember, all of this comes from articles shared on the Dramface website. So there's an article there talking about a scene that we didn't really probably appreciate, Spanish whiskey. But which of these is a genuine Spanish whiskey brand? A, Sack Truck, B, Sack Man, or C, Sack Sack? Jerry Miller is saying, knowledgeable my ass, I went with the crowd. Yes, I'll show that comment, Jerry, no problem. Another moderator just handled this. I wonder if that was Helen. Doc, or perhaps Sugar Kitty, Ebhead Rolf. I wonder who else is in tonight moderating for me. Thank you all so much for your support. I do very much appreciate it. Everything that Aquavitae exists for relies on loads of other folk. It's superb. So there we go. Sack Truck, Sack Man, or Sack Sack? Absolutely. I'm hoping it's going to be quite easy for you tonight. An interesting line of whiskies from Spain is B, Sack Man. Sack Man. Question 3. Who declared Campbelltown Whisky City in the 19th century? Who was the first to suggest that Campbelltown, back in the heyday where it had probably 25 plus, maybe 30 plus distilleries at the time, was Whisky City? Was it A, Aeneas Coffey, B, Aeneas MacDonald, or C, Alfred Barnard? This may be a tricky one, actually. I guess you have to know your whiskey historians, or your, not historians, historical writers. And one of the 3 there, Falscraft is saying, crowd help me. One of the 3 there is not a writer. Well, he wasn't known for that, at least. The Milkman's Kid. It's a cool name. That's looks like a new name as well. Nice to welcome you in. Steve Atkiss is here as well. Fantastic. Chuck Maltminion. Tommy T. Fantastic. Fernando. Martin Brader. Graham Young. Glenn Anderson. Gino. Fantastic. So good to see you all in. Bruno Martins. Terrific stuff. Jaime is in tonight as well. Rob Too Slow. Greg's Whiskey Guide in Paris. Lassie Hort Otsman as well. I like saying your name. Lassie Hort Otsman. I'm sure I'm pronounced it wrong, but it's a cool name. Joshua Wardman. That looks like a new name as well. And Joshua thinks that it's Barnard. You're absolutely spot on. If you said C for Alfred Barnard, you're absolutely right. Aeneas Coffey is obviously famous for his continuous still and being an exciseman too. And Aeneas MacDonald wrote an early 20th century book called Whisky. Wonderful read too. Question 4. Weems Malts have launched a new peated expression alongside their peat chimney. What's it called? Is it called A, Smoke Monster, B, Smoky Shores, or C, Smoky Moky? I'm looking for good scoring tonight. Jimmy Legs always had already had a wee banana skin, but you should have healthy scores tonight, I hope. And if you're not, head over to Dramface and do a wee bit of reading and a wee bit of sorting up and tell me how you got on. Tell me what you think of the site. Precarious Dave is in as well. Fantastic, Dave. I hope I'm seeing you at the weekend. I've decided after years of failure to copy Graham Fraser's homework tonight. Already doing great. I had a daughter screaming about that happening at her school recently. She was really upset about it. So don't tell her that if you ever meet her, Dave. I can tell you that Weems Malts have just recently, for Burns Night apparently, according to the article on Dramface, has released an expression called Smoky Shores, B. So if you answered B, which the vast majority absolutely did, even if you didn't know that, hopefully you'll be able to apply a wee bit of rationale to work out that it's Smoky Shores. Question 5. Here's an image of what looks like a pretty fantastic distillery. What's fantastic for me is how real these visualizations can look these days. Quite incredible. But this is a brand new distillery. Obviously, this is an artist's impression of what it's going to look like. If they achieve this, I'll be surprised, honestly, but perhaps. I'm just going to ask you, where is this distillery? Is it A in the Highlands, B in the Lowlands, or C in Campbelltown? Where is this distillery? Scott Allen is in saying 4 out of 4. The crowd is killing it. Good for you, Scott. Dave is saying, keep it up, Graham, counting on you. Graham, are you the head of the dog? Are you leading everyone now? A, Highland, B, Lowland, or C, Campbelltown? Glenn Anderson thinks Lindores. Nope. Lindores is nice and modern in a lot of aspects, but this isn't even built yet. This is just still very much on paper. Just announced today, if you head over to dramface.com, you'll pick up not only that story, but you'll pick up an exclusive as well. And you'll discover that the distillery that we're looking at here is actually a Campbelltown distillery. This is a Dalriata distillery. I need to double check the pronunciation of the Riata part. But it was announced today. It looks to be going ahead. Very interesting. There's a renaissance happening in Campbelltown. Fun times, absolutely. Lots of 5 out of 5s, terrific stuff. Let's move into the back 9 and see if it's going to get any crunchier. I think you'll still be in safe ground. Malcolm Rennie has joined Rosebank as distillery manager, but which new distillery did he come from? So he's moving to Rosebank, which is a new, or let's say a revived distillery. Rebuilt would be a better word. But where does he come from? Did he come from A, Wolf Craig, B, Falkirk, or C, Lochlee? I think I'm being super kind to everybody tonight, don't you think? If I'm going to celebrate 5 years, and obviously the Dramface thing, then I should do it with some high scores, shouldn't I? That big sign with Riata in the background helped. Good for you, Anthony. But you would obviously have to know that Dalriata was going to be in the Campbelltown region as well. C, you all seem to think that Malcolm Rennie has moved from Lochlee to Rosebank, and you're absolutely right. Well done, everyone. It is indeed. Oops, did I go on too far? Question 7, and I'm going to mess up this pronunciation, so if there are any Swedes in, I hope I'm not offending anyone, but I think it's Stjärnrock. Stjärnrock is a new release from Sweden's Mackmyra. What does that translate as in English? Stjärnrock is a new release from Sweden's Mackmyra. What does that translate as in English? A, is Stjärnrock Star Smoke? B, Storm Cloud, or C, Strong Arm? Is it Star Smoke, Storm Cloud, or Strong Arm? Precarious Dave is talking about Dalriada being further north historically. Well, it wasn't. It was quite an expansive region on the west coast, wasn't it? Jimmy Legg. I think I'll leave that one. It's maybe somebody else has passed it. Yep. I don't think it's that. Jaime. I think I've lowballed the quiz a bit much tonight. Everybody's got this as well. Yes, the new Mackmyra release. which you can always read. You can also read a review about on Dramface, if I've not plugged it enough, is indeed Starsmoke. Stjernrock is Starsmoke. Question 8. Ian McAllister is the master blender and manager for which Campbelltown distillery? A contributor to a piece in Dramface is Ian McAllister. But is Ian McAllister the manager of A, Glengyle, B, Springbank, or C, Glen Scotia? Okay, we're getting some help here on the pronunciation from P-Head. Stjern is more pronounced as Stjern. So it's Stjernrock. 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 Fernando is saying, oh, know this one. Ian McAllister is the master blender and manager for which of the Campbelltown distilleries? A, Glengyle, B, Springbank, or C, Glen Scotia? What is this Dramface you keep mentioning, says Helen Zwid. Oh, Helen. Well, to help you out, I'll paste in a wee link. I'll need to remember to put it underneath the video as well so everybody can see. I mean, we've managed to cover a lot of ground in the last couple of months. I'm just really excited for it. I would love it to get some wind in its sails. I would love you all to share it passionately if you enjoy it, and just make everybody feel like all their efforts. Everybody's done everything for free so far. We're significantly out of pocket, of course, to launch something like this, but we believe in the concept. We really do. Ian McAllister is, of course, the manager of Glen Scotia. Tommy Elmer is saying, show us your Dramface. That's right, Tom. I hope that we can hang out together, and that's exactly what we can share, each other's Dramfaces. Question 9, second from last. Is it going to get tricky? Maybe a wee bit. A producer announced an exclusive on the new Dramface platform. What was it? I don't want to know who the producer was. I do not want to know that. I want to know what the exclusive announcement was. Was the exclusive announcement A, a brand new distillery opening? Was it B, a brand new cask strength core release? Or was it C, a brand new mash bill? The first time in over 100 years in Scotland. What is the exclusive news piece that Dramface shared today for the first time? It was embargoed up until we went live this evening. Was it A, a brand new distillery opening, B, a brand new cask strength core release, or C, a brand new mash bill, the first in 100 years in Scotland? I think there's going to be a huge celebration. Surely there's going to be lots and lots and lots of 10 out of 10s tonight. Anybody that's a barfly that's got that 10 emoji, if you get a 10 tonight, let the place light up. Terrific stuff. You're absolutely spot on. The exclusive news story on Dramface was a brand new cask strength core release from a producer. If you head over there, you'll discover who that is. So let's see as we move into the final question, which is, of course, always an asshat. Just because it's a quiz that I'm trying to hopefully help some 10 out of 10s happen tonight, doesn't mean that we don't finish on an asshat, right? Tom S. Elmer is saying, waiting on the asshat. Here it comes, Tom. Look at the 9 out of 9s. Let's see how many 9 out of 9s I can count. Whiskey with Molly, Daniel Williams, Malt Minion, Andrew Peters, Andrew Butler, Jerry Miller, Richie Z, so good to see you, Richie. Fantastic. Dogs Have No Uncles. Collins, terrific. Whoops, let's get that back. Hoyt, Too Slow, Philip Wagner, Tom Elmer, Scott Allen, Lassie Hjort Oatsman, The Hogsheads, Sid Martin, mainly crowd-led, is Sid, I don't believe that for a minute. Precarious Dave, Graham Fraser, Al, Graham Young, Molasses, Black Fen, fantastic. So many 9 out of 9s. There's going to be 10 out of 10s. So thank you for supporting me over the last 5 years on this channel. Thank you for bringing this thing to life week after week after week. It's amazing. The only thing I could do for you in return tonight is to give you a quiz that could show just how knowledgeable you folk are. Despite me drawing information directly from the Dramface website tonight, you're obviously clued up. You know what's happening out there in the whiskey world. I hope that Dramface can help you enjoy a wee bit more of that. But tonight was to try and bring a wee bit of a quiz that everybody could celebrate. Richie Z is praying and saying, let's go for 10. Here is the asshat, and it is a bit of an asshat. Dramface is a site for views, news, and reviews, and it launches today with how many articles? About the same as A, the number of lowland distilleries in Scotland. B, the number of island distilleries in Scotland. Or C, the number of distilleries owned by Diageo, Edrington and Grants all combined. Yes, it is an asshat still. Jimmy Legg is saying, how could I not pick Sack Sack? So that's what you've slipped up on. So you picked Sack Sack. What's Sack, man? Oh, I love you, Jimmy. Bless you. So how many articles did Dramface go live with at 10:15 this evening? Was it A, the same as the number of lowland distilleries that exists in Scotland, or B, the same as the number of island distilleries that exists, or C, the same number of distilleries owned by Diageo, Edrington and Grants combined? 3 of the top 4 or top 5, depending on how you define it. Great asshat, says Falsgraph. Great asshat. Well, I can tell you that the number of lowland distilleries is in the order of around 18. Did I write this down? I feel like I wrote it down somewhere when I was counting it earlier. Let me see. Yeah, somewhere in the order of 18, depending on what stage you decide is cut off in terms of work in progress and things like that. But I'm kind of aiming for more active distilleries. We're in the realm of about 18. Same goes for island distilleries, about 20 island distilleries. Diageo, they have 29 distilleries of their own. Edrington have a couple as well, 2 or 3, don't they? They have 3. And Grants have 3 as well, don't they? So I can tell you that absolutely Dramface goes live with 36 separate article opinion pieces and news stories. 36 articles. Plenty to keep you going over the weekend and into next week. So let's see who managed to get a 10 out of 10 this evening. A wonderful drama, generous drama from David Hong. Toast to the new website, best wishes. Thank you, David. Thank you so much. I'm going to raise this glass. I think this is my Strathmill in the Dram Team glass. How many of us are in Dramface counting? Terrific stuff. Oh, Scott Allen is saying, damn ass hat. It's made him slip up. There are a lot of 9 out of 10s, and Ephead is saying, yes, my first ever 10. Terrific, Rolf. I hope you make it here safely at the weekend, my friend. I can't wait to see you. Jimmy Legg on 8 out of 10. Erwin's on wow, 8 out of 10. Fantastic. Bruno Martins is celebrating a 10. Terrific, Bruno. Make sure you use that 10 emoji that you have access to as a barfly. Jerry Miller is celebrating with the emoji, but does it count till I get 10 on a Menno quiz? Can you imagine the feeling a 10 on a Menno quiz would be? Sid Martin is saying, I went against the crowd for the 10. Terrific, Sid. Well done to you. Peter Lee is saying, oh no, the ass hat killed me. It's a nightmare. Sorry, Peter. Al is celebrating 10 out of 10. Let's see who else we've got. I don't want to miss anyone. Bruno Martins is saying, my second 10 out of 10 of all times. Terrific. Congratulations, Bruno. Pete Ed is saying, from this quiz, I learned at least that I have to check Dramface. You're an A student this evening, Frank. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. Absolutely terrific stuff. Tonight was an easy vPub for me. I thought it was going to be difficult being this honest and sharing with you actually what my true count was. That I've struggled to keep it under the 30 units until this last week. And I'm going to make a wee bit of an effort going forward, and I'm going to keep measuring what I'm sipping and enjoying. I will make exceptions for the celebration at the weekend. But it's easy to be honest with you. It's easy for me to be honest and share what I'm drinking. It's easy for me to be honest and share where my favourites lie, what I might be biased towards. Huge generous dram come in from Jimmy Legg. Another one come in just ahead from, did I pick up the one before that as well? Tell me I picked up that. Yes, I did. I got it. It was from David Hong. Thank you, David. Thanks so much. Glenn Anderson bought me a dram to say Grants have 4 malt and 1 grain. Balvenie or Caninvie, Glenfiddich, Ailsa Bay, of course they do, and Girvan. Glenn Anderson, well done, terrific stuff. And Jimmy Legg has bought me a very generous dram to say, super happy to be here to celebrate the 5 years. And a cursory glance at Dramface looks very promising. It's okay to be proud of you, because I am. Well done, sir. Jimmy Legg, I love having you in here. I love all the colour, the prickly comments, the cheek. I love it all. Thank you for the generous dram, and Graham Young as well. A huge cheers to the new Dramface info site. Looking forward to the exploration. I'm looking forward to the feedback. Fill the comments, flood the comments, because the writers, the people that write those articles, down at the bottom, you're going to be able to comment just like you do on YouTube. Send your comments back. If you want to interact with them, fine. If you just want to be appreciative towards them, whatever it is, make the YouTube dynamics light up inside Dramface 2 with the comment section. Graham Young, thank you for your dram. Glenn Anderson, thank you for your dram. And Jimmy Legg, I'm proud of you too, my friend. Thank you for your generous dram. Cheers. Stefan Novak is saying, damn, now the malt whiskey yearbook is not enough. To get a pass back, now I have to read Dramface as well. You're a sack man, Aquavite. Stefan, just as long as you enjoy it, my friend. Jaime saying, congrats on Dramface and 5 years, Roy. Glad to be a part of this community. Jaime, I'm glad to have you as part of this community, my friend. Graham Fraser is saying, well done, all the 10 out of 10ers. Graham, I'm sure you got a 10 out of 10 as well. Did I mention your name? Did you manage it? Helen is saying, marvellous vPub, Roy, and congrats again on the 5th anniversary and also for the fabulous launch of Dramface. Well, as if being honest isn't enough to celebrate 5 years, but being able to bring you a platform like Dramface and the folk that have helped me put that together, they're wonderful folk. You'll work out who they are, and they're amazing, and I hope they enjoy it and stick with it too. But to be able to give so many of you high scoring and even 10 out of 10 quiz at the end, I've enjoyed it tonight as well, Helen. Thanks so much. Great job in 5 years, says Erwin. And Gino Camo, member of the Bar Fives for 23 months, celebrating tonight. Have a great whiskey festival, sir, and a great week. Gino, my friend, so nice to see you. And Richie Z's bought me a dram too. Thanks for a great vPub, Roy. Richie, thank you so much. Thank you, Gino. Slancho. Don McCausland saying, good night, everyone. Time to celebrate with a dram and some goon online reading. Good to hear it, Don. Let me know what you think about it. Feedback, exactly what you think. Everybody's going to be keen to have finally managed to get that labour of love out there. Look at this. I've still got that big 10 up instead of me. The 10's a prettier thing to look at than me. Philip Wagner is saying, thanks for a great vPub and Dramface. Really exciting. Congrats on your vPub anniversary, Aquaviti. Finally, I became a member today. Thank you, Philip. Welcome to the Barflies. Looking forward to the next vPub. The Eped is saying, thanks for the 5 years and a very exciting release of Dramface tonight. Look forward to the weekend. So do I, Rolf. Listen, all of these things is possible because of you. Dramface, I'll be honest, it's got to fund itself going forward, but Dramface has been founded out of my patron support. There's no doubt about that. I took a chunk of the money from my patron support and invested it in Dramface. I don't want anybody working behind the scenes in Dramface worrying about the cost of hosting, the cost of storage, the cost of subscriptions, the cost of whatever is needed. It needs to be serious. It needs to do the community justice. It will pay for itself in time. There's no doubt, because we are all committed to bringing the best thing we possibly can. Anthony Dunn saying, congrats on the new website in 5 years. I didn't want a 10 out of 10 anyway. If everyone was getting one. Good for you, Anthony. Terrific. It could not happen. None of this can exist without all the support from you. But I think the reason that you support it has got a lot to do with honesty. So until next week, I'll raise this wee glass and I'll thank you all and tell you that you're all very dearly loved. I look forward to hanging out with you, maybe at the weekend, if we're all lucky and we can hang out together at the festival. Sorry, Dram just came in from Glenn Anderson. Good night. Thank you very much, Glenn. And Whiskey Throttle in Canada. Congratulations, my friend. Very happy to see you growing in a positive way. Very encouraging. Looking forward to the next time we can hang out together as well. And Alice saying, enjoy the Glasgow Whiskey Festival. So let me raise this glass to you all and tell you that you're all very dearly loved, and I look forward to hanging out with you a week from now. Slancha. Enjoy Dramface.